Welcome back to this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, President of Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training. My special guest today is Satoru Hiraga, who is the Chairman of Marsh Brokers Japan. Hiraga-san, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be, exchange our thoughts today. And, I'm very much excited, but besides, I'm a little nervous that because it's not so many times happened, and today, especially in English, so if that is something that I need to just, correct my words or some sentences.
No problem. Yeah. In fact, we've spoken in English before, and I noticed how good your English was. So I'm fully confident we won't have any problems.
It's more on like a kindergarten English.
I don't think so. But, how you've had a very long career in doing many things in business. So give us the background. How did you get to this particular company and this particular job? What were you doing beforehand?
Okay. Firstly, just after graduated the university, it's in the early 1980s, I was joining one of the Japanese financial institution, Japanese bank. Nowadays it's called Mizuho. And after 10 years later, I really like to go abroad to how do I say, build up more career or my experiences. However, I wasn't that position or the level to be recommended by the bank to be sent to abroad any of the countries. So it's the age of around 30s, and I had to decide how I should do. Then my decision was, after I had a discuss with my father and my families, and then decided to, anyway, quit the job. And then, firstly, need to re-educate myself, and then decided to go to the business school in the States. And after spending a year and a half abroad, meaning the States, and graduate the business MBA, getting the certificate, then I found out, and I was asked by the current company, why don't you just come to our company? Because we are looking for any person who likes to work abroad, means outside Japan, to step up his or her own career. And I asked, where is it? That's in Europe. And it's my first experience to be stationing in Europe, so I was very much excited, one side, but another side, I have no idea about the culture, language. Well, I spoke a little bit French because I learned at the high school, university, and also during my working career in the bank. I was having the opportunity to study for a year French, the basic French. Then, okay, that's a very good offer. And then I decided to enter the company because it's very much excited for us to raise my career. That year, that is around 1990s. My age around 30, mid-30. And it's not too late to change all my working career and something, and it's more exciting to be because it's quite fresh, new, anything in Europe. I was asked to be stationing in Germany. And but of course the territory itself is not only Germany, but some of the countries in the continental Europe, including France, Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, Switzerland, and Eastern Europe, and some of the area in Spain.
So Marsh was pretty interesting, sending a Japanese executive to Europe. That's quite counterintuitive, isn't it?
Well, I believe we are the initiators to send any of the Japanese representative or in Europe. We as the American company, of course, we have the Japanese representative stationing in the States, in total of like 5-6 persons from the early 80s. However, in Europe, there's one person who's been already in Germany from the year 1987. But of course, to manage everything by his own, he's only one person to be stationing in Europe. And of course, the territory of Europe is not small enough because it's covering not only the continent but also UK.
Oh, okay, it's huge.
So he needs some of the, not supporter, but the colleagues to be working together with. And that's why I was recruited that time. And yes, but then after I was stationing in Germany in the year of 1991, and a year later, there's another person to be stationing in the Netherlands, and another year later, there's one other person in France. And
These are all Japanese executives?
Japanese executives.
Wow, that's amazing.
And 1995, there's another person in UK finally.
Wow. So
it total like 5 peoples all around.
All right.
And still it's continued.
Very unique.
Unique, yes, it is.
Well, I think about, the how many times when I've been traveling have I ever come across a Japanese general manager of a 5-star hotel overseas? You never meet them. You wonder, all these Japanese working in 5-star hotels in Japan, there's lots of them, but you don't seem to run into them when you're overseas traveling, going to these hotels. It's always Swiss, Germans and whatever, no Japanese. But here we've got Marsh. They're really doing a great job populating Europe with a lot of senior Japanese executives. Very interesting.
And another part is, I said my age is like a mid-30s, and my colleagues who are following in a couple of years, they are all in a similar ages.
Right.
So because mid-30s is kind of you can work for 24 hours, 7 days, 365 years, days.
Yes, you can.
Well, we don't say we are the workaholic, but we are eager to do something. We have a passion because it's younger age. I don't say the senior ages are not having that, but it's more kind of, active, I believe.
So you'd had some experience, no doubt, in the bank. Maybe leading, maybe, I don't know, how the hierarchy was like in the bank, but probably did you get to Kacho level or something by the time you left? Or
no, still, I'm just kind of the youngsters.
Youngster, even in your mid-30s.
Although I'm having some of the person to working together with, but I'm not in the position of the kind of decision maker.
As a leader.
It's more on the follower.
So in that sense, your first real big leadership role, I guess, is in Germany.
Oh, yes.
And how many people were you leading?
In Europe? Well, the fortunate or unfortunate, I have to lead anyway the Japanese business in Europe to get many, how do I say, business for ours. My colleagues are all, from my position or my standpoint, all foreigners. They're Germans, they're French. I have to work together with and then leading something and teach them what the Japanese business are and what the Japanese companies are. I know that from zero, from scratch. So that's a very tough moment because I don't know. We don't have any kind of
no manual.
No, nothing.
No book.
It's from zero start. So I bring some booklet and read how to manage the people, how to encourage the people to work smoothly, nicely, and gently together with me or with our colleagues in Japan to communicate with. So communication is the very kind of key. Not doing, not making any order or instruct something, but in the same eye level, and then because I teach Japanese business, but I have to learn what the European business are.
Yeah.
So it's vice versa,
Yeah.
kind of give and take.
Yeah.
I give you this one, so please give me your thoughts, or please give me your experience or knowledge to me. So
That's interesting.
So that's fair for them. Okay, if you're saying that, that's good enough, and that's fair enough. Because I don't like to be educated from you because I'm younger than them.
But probably in Europe, age differentiation
It is.
still
Yes,
important.
still.
Interesting.
Especially that age. Well, I think it has changed I
Now?
believe now drastically in between 1990s, because Germany was totally unified, and
Yeah.
then the China, all over the world is becoming very much changed in 180 degrees.
Right.
But before that, or just soon after I was in Europe, still not a hierarchy, but senior people are more respectful
Okay.
then. That's my kind of, my first impression.
Right. Okay. So, but in terms of actually numbers of people you were leading, how many people were you responsible for?
Well, to do business, or especially for searching and looking for the Japanese business in Germany, it's around 20 people.
20 people, right? But you had other countries as well at the beginning, right? So you had
Yes,
quite a
the
lot of
same
people.
numbers in France, of
Right.
course, in the Netherlands, in UK, all over the countries.
So it sounds like more than about 100 people or something.
Yeah, around 100 people. Well, it's not kind of the full-time, contribution to Japanese business. We call the international business.
Right.
But before 1990s, international business doesn't include Japanese business, because they're not eager to, develop the Japanese business by their own, because
Right.
they don't know how.
Right.
So that's why they need the Japanese expatriates to looking
Right.
for.
Right.
So, although I'm saying 100 people all over in Europe, that doesn't say I have to manage all of them,
Right. Okay.
partially.
Yeah.
Because there is another manager, senior, who's managing the international department.
Right.
So it's kind of the dual kind of reporting line.
Right.
One is for the international department manager, and one, if that is the Japanese business, it's to me.
So how was that? You've come up through the Japanese system. You've gone and done your MBA. An MBA doesn't really prepare you
No.
for managing people
No.
so specifically, because
No.
it's an academic subject, right?
Right,
So it's high level,
exactly.
very high
You're
level.
right. You're right.
But in real terms, they're there. You're leading them. What was challenging about leading foreigners as a Japanese businessman at that time?
Oh, it's a good question, a tough question. Well, as you mentioned, Greg, that I haven't learned exactly what leadership is and how to lead or how to manage the people. So I learned it's easy to say that, but that is more on a on-the-job training basis. Because my motto is not train them, not educate them, but we go and work together with on the same eye level. Because I'm still mid-30s that age, and then I don't have any kind of power to manage the people. Because more than that, I have to learn many things from them. Then, what is the kind of turning point is we get some new business of the Japanese. Then they start thinking that, oh, this guy Hiraga, he's doing something to bring us a new business, means revenue, and that is of course good for them.
Welcome, yeah.
For their raising their remuneration anyway. So that's starting kind of a trust and also respect. Then what they say is, okay, I follow your thoughts. I follow your strategy. I follow your kind of, anyway, some sales talk and whatever. Please teach me. I don't urge them, but they ask me to.
Interesting.
Well, I don't say that's a leadership. Well, to say leader is something, but to leader is leading not the person, but leading the business together with the people.
And how long were you in Europe for? How long do they keep you in Europe?
I had been in Europe for around 5 years.
Okay.
But then I supposed to be back to Japan.
Right.
But the top management said, okay, you had that good experience, 5 years. Why don't you just come to our headquarters in the States,
Okay.
New York, and then doing the same kind of business in the States, because there are plenty of business opportunities still in the States. So why don't you just come and then support your colleagues, because I mentioned that they've been already around 10 Japanese already around in the States, from east to west, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Nashville, Detroit, many of the cities, major cities where the Japanese business are. So I was stationing in New York, and then again, the territory is not only New York State or Tri-State, but East Coast, and West End is like Chicago. Southwest is it's difficult, but Atlanta, Georgia, around that. But very very similar.
So are you an independent operator coordinating with your Japanese colleagues, or are you actually running a team in the States?
Well, I don't run a team. More to say, I'm kind of the one of the teammates of that team.
Right.
Because I have a senior boss who is Japanese in New York.
Okay.
So my reporting line that time was to that person.
Oh, okay. Right.
Then I have many colleagues, the Americans. So they somehow reporting to me their update of the each business or the each account. Then after I kind of summarize everything, and then I report to the top boss.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, how long were you in the States this time?
Another 5 years.
Another 5 years.
In total,
okay.
10 years I was abroad.
Wow.
Yes.
And then you came back to Japan?
I was back to Japan in the year 2000.
And what was the role they gave you when you came back to Japan?
Well, my role is, sales activity is one thing, but I learned many new kind of, not a technology, but some thoughts or some idea. Means real risk management is now, it's many of the people knowing that. But how to kind of identify the risks and also calculate how much that risk is. Kind of that methodology is quite new to be introduced from the mid-90s. And I learned during my stay in New York some kind of methodology and some other things. I bring back that thoughts methodology to Japan to introduce and to let people know the importance of the risk management, because risk management in Japan is not well organized that time.
Risk avoidance is extremely well organized in Japan, but risk
avoidance
management
is
not
one
so
thing,
well.
or more say it's more risk retention.
Yeah, okay.
The bad thing is that, regarding this field, risk mitigation or risk control, that kind of words is not well known in Japan. More say risk avoidance, as you mentioned, Greg. That's one thing, and risk retention. Risk retention is kind of risk, hide the risk.
Ah, okay.
Kind of.
Yeah, right.
Under the table. No,
Right.
not under the
No one
table, but nobody knows, nobody see.
Yeah, it's all fine.
Everybody is conscious of the risk itself, but to find a solution, we think that later.
Right.
That kind of attitude is still in Japan.
Still going. So when you came back to Japan, at what point did you start actually leading a section or a division or a team?
Well, good point, because that's my first challenge when I was back to Japan, because I was told to manage the team.
Okay.
Create a new team. As I mentioned,
Build a
risk
team.
management, risk consulting field
Right.
is not well. It's very new in
Right.
Japan, and especially in our company. So I was asked, and I was told to firstly set up the unit. We call the risk consulting team, and we start from 3 people. Now it's over 20.
Oh, it's grown, yeah.
That unit is,
Yeah.
because it's getting bigger and getting more profitable. So hiring people is one thing that I have to.
Is this hiring internally or
No,
hiring from
internally, yes. It's half and half. I said 3 persons. Besides, it's 4. 4 people to be joining our new entity, new unit. 2 people are from the internal, 2 people from outside.
Ah, okay.
So recruiting.
Recruiting from
Yes,
outside.
yes.
Okay. And what did you find? Because you've been experienced in dealing with foreigners, actually, in terms of leading
Yes.
foreigners. Now you're
Yes.
back in Japan.
Mhm.
What changes did you have to make, if any, to lead a Japanese team?
Well, not a big change because what I learned and learned during my stay in Europe is that I learned, okay, this area, we need this talent, this people who has this talented, or this knowledge, or this how do I say, this thought, whatever, well, especially knowledge. Knowledge and skill is important, and I learned, okay, to work together with, to having more skill, or higher knowledge, or experience is good for us to develop our business. So when I recruit the people, my kind of image is from that person or those person I working together with.
Mm.
So firstly, I wrote down from the recruitment, we need this person. Of course, the business skill is this, English, yes, proficient, and some other skills like risk consulting means good at the mathematics and some analytical survey, doing blah, blah, blah. So that kind of items, all that I learned during my stay in the States and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't learn any from the I do follow some from the booklets,
Mm-hmm.
but that is afterwards.
Right. Right.
Still, it's on a kind of on the job training.
Okay, still on the job training. So, in terms of, you've had a number of teams since then, I guess, as you've moved through the ranks. But what things did you find worked well for you in Japan to get the team engaged, get them excited about the job?
Well, you mean what do I need or what?
No, what did you, in terms of getting the team to get really behind your direction, follow you, they're really keen to do the job, they're really engaged in their work. What things did you find from your side as a leader were good to get people to be like that?
Well, probably I don't say it's the only one, but communication, sharing the idea, not hiding. Well, I don't say I'm not hiding anything. Of course, I cannot disclose anything, some of the area of some personal issues. But besides, especially that is business related, I don't hide anything because I do need each person's thoughts or some idea, what is the best. And if there is only one person's thoughts, it's hardly judge whether that is good or bad. But if that is 2 or 3 people, and the majority is like a plan A versus plan B, and I thought in my mind that the A will be better, and then I get more confidence that A may be good. So, but in order to do that, communication is the key. Otherwise, if nobody is responding me with any words, then I don't know how to react or how to throw any balls to them. So communication.
It's interesting because often in Japan, people want to be told what to do.
Oh,
I don't have
it
to.
means one way.
Yeah, I don't have to think, but I'll do a perfect job of whatever you tell me. So tell me what you want me to do, and then I'll go and do it. But what you're talking about here is more of a conversation around what should we do, and that's a little bit different, I think.
Well, first of all, because I'm quite new for the leader,
Right.
that means I don't have a kind of a good confidence to be saying that I'm right, you're wrong, just follow me. I don't have that kind of confidence. To learn is more important for me, and to find out more you know, then more idea or more alternatives can give to anybody.
Yep.
So when I was the age of 40, I was back to in a little over 40s. I thought that one way is not a communication. It's just a direction. I don't like that word. Well, sometimes, yes.
Why
it's
don't you
important.
like that word?
Pardon?
Why don't you like that word? Because a lot of bosses in Japan are very directive.
Direct means it's only one way, so there is no. It's hardly to get a response, whether he or she feels that is positive or negative. If you say that's communication, the person is easy to communicate or respond anyway, good or bad. And that's the discussion. That's the communication. I keep that things from the year 40s. I'm still keeping that way.
Keeping it that way.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. Are you doing business with Japan? Do you really know how things work? Japan Business Mastery provides the answers. Do you have the right networks and know how to create them? Do you know how to get on the same wavelength with Japanese buyers? Do you know what being trustworthy looks like from the Japanese perspective? Japan Business Mastery is based on more than 30 years' experience in Japan and will become your go-to guide. Want to succeed in Japan? Buy Japan Business Mastery now. And one of the triggers to get people thinking about how to make the work better, come up with creative ideas, be innovative, is to have that engagement. So if you've got people engaged, then they care. They care about how we do it, how we can do it better, how we can, get more revenue, save costs, speed up, or whatever they need to do. Did you find any particular things useful in getting innovative ideas from your team members?
To get those thoughts out?
Like, for example, some people have particular brainstorming techniques they use, or they have some mechanism they use to get people together and get the thoughts out. I mean, how about in your case?
Well, Greg,
how did you do that?
Well, I said communication, but that doesn't mean that, every time I listen to, but listen to is not everything, because after that, I have to decide.
You still got to make the decision, right?
What the best scenario is. The thing is, but to get the thoughts is, not giving kind of negative feelings to the people. Because once I show negative, that person didn't respond or don't respond nicely to me. They hesitate to say something because, Hiraga is his face is like looking very negative. So even whatever I'm saying that, he may say no.
Right.
I don't like to bring that kind of attitude to any of the people. So more positive way. And
but how do you control that? Because sometimes we can't see the look on our own face, And when we've got a lot of pressure, we've got a lot of pressure, and we've got a lot of worries or concerns. Sometimes we can, without knowing it, have quite a negative-looking face, worried face, stressed face. And that's the type of face that they're saying as the staff. So as a leader, we have to be conscious of what sort of image we're projecting to people and know what sort of face we've got on, So how did you get around that problem with all the stress and tension and problems that you were facing?
I don't like to say my entire secrets, but I make up people or person by person.
Okay.
If that person is very much open-minded, I go straight forward to that person.
Right.
Okay, give me your thoughts. Nothing, no negative, no positive, but just straight. If that person is, if I don't know very much about him or her, then I firstly show them positive and cheerful, or with smile. If that person is knowing my attitude, I do sometimes make some fake that I do start from negative side. Whatever he said or she said, I said, no, it's not a good idea. But waiting for his or her response, because that person is more kind of logical,
All right.
and then find out after my negative action, then he may or she may find out his or her second thoughts.
Yeah, a better thought, or
Yes,
a more
yes.
deep thought,
By
or
the
a more
way,
logical
I don't,
thought.
I don't say everything, but this is my real thinking way. So try to get kind of his or her own thoughts, but really depending on the person. But then probably, Greg, your question maybe, how do you find out that each person's
Exactly.
attitude or character?
That was my next question, yeah.
Well, that's kind of experience, one thing, because thanks to the top management for sending me 10 years abroad. That's my working kind of experience moment too. Even that is Japanese or non-Japanese, it doesn't matter because it's a human beings. So of course the culture basis, some are different, but the attitude to business is kind of universal. So I learned, and there are more than, well, I don't know how many kinds, but 100 types or 200 types, I don't know. But anyway, my judgment is because of from a 10 years experience, then I can find out, okay, this person may be character A and character C, character E. Okay, then this will be, I should take this attitude or some action to that person. I learned from that.
It's interesting what you're talking about here, because if I think back to sports coaching, in the old days, there was one method, and that was the sort of very motivational type of speech from the coach and fire everybody up and
then encourage
send them out,
Yeah, okay.
But they don't do that anymore. They don't do that anymore. They, exactly like what you're talking about, they look at each of the players, and for this player, they might be on big money, so they put a lot of pressure on them.
But
hey,
Greg,
you're earning big money, but this player, no pressure.
Yeah.
They weigh.
But depending on the some of the issues, if there is if the issue itself is all the person should share, then that is kind of the motivation for everybody. But if there is a person-to-person and business strategy is by that person's discussion or debate, that is the one I mentioned before.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. That's what sports coaches.
Oh yes,
do.
yes, right.
They are doing what you're doing. They look at each player individually, and they like this person, no good on pressure.
So different menu.
No pressure to that guy. This person responds well to pressure, so I put pressure on this guy. They are very clever in analysing their people. Exactly what you're talking about in terms of what you're doing with your team. You're working out. You're talking about, different types, and then you're adjusting yourself to communicate with that person in a certain way. It's very, very advanced what you're doing.
Well, I learned in the States the risk consulting, risk management, and what I learned, what is very much important is psychology, the mental things, how that person is thinking, or what the behavior, whatever. The behavior is one thing, but the behavior is depending on each person. But based on each person's psychology, to knowing his or her psychology, some thoughts, that is very much important, and that is the key to find out the risk itself of each corporation or each entity. That's I learned from that. Nobody taught me. But when I read some of the booklets, it says, including Dale Carnegie, how to move the people. Yes, that is exactly more on the psychological issues.
Exactly. And so, as I said before, getting creative ideas, getting innovative thoughts from people, what did you use, or what have you used that you think you understand each person one by one, but still you've got to get some ideas out of them? How do you do that?
Anyway, I have to modify that anyway, to think, just not only listening to that, but then summarize, modifying that, and what is the best idea. Then, of course, I don't discuss deeply with that only with that person only, but some of the I have some colleagues or on a same managerial level. So I bring that issues to, firstly, the same level management people to think or to ask their thoughts, whether I'm correct or not. I raise, this is my thought, and this is the business strategy I like to create, and I like to bring, and I like to share. What's your thoughts? But that's not only applied to me, but that's kind of our corporate kind of philosophy or the structure. Not decide everything by yourself. Share some idea, and then best solution is the key. Best solution is not happened by only one person, because who knows, that person is a kind of God.
Yeah, that's right.
So some judgment is fair to say. If that is well, sometimes it's hard to say. Maybe probably this is a kind of contradiction, but majority is one thing. If 8 of 10 people saying plan A is better than B, and of course it's easy to say because of the majority, let's do it plan A.
Plan A, yeah.
Sometimes I feel plan B is better. That is a tough moment to negotiate and discuss more in a logical way, and how to convince other 8 people no, plan B is better because of this and this and this. That's another thing I learned during my stay in the States too. Well, not only listening to, not only following is easy. And then probably, Greg, you mentioned about, well, the Japanese philosophy used to be following the person, especially the senior people.
Yeah.
It's easier. But sometimes in your mind that, well, I have some regrets that I should say that. I don't like that regret. To say is one thing, but unless you say, there's no, how do I say, development or any of the new things coming around.
And what about in terms of innovation? You know, one of the things with innovation is it's a messy process, right?
It may.
And so there's bound to be mistakes. There's bound to be problems, you know. And one of the things about Japanese business is there's this very, very, very keen push, no defects, no errors, no mistakes, but sort of contradiction against the innovation process, which is going to have errors, mistakes, and problems. So,
yes. How
do you treat mistakes from your point of view as a leader?
It's hard to answer. Yeah, I know exactly your question is, and because before you were asking me, I was asking myself that question. Well, I'm not a perfect person, and even my decision is made, and well, I don't say 8-2, but sometimes my decision-making process or even the decision itself is wrong, was wrong, because that's a result. Defect, yes, it happened, but I was saying that I don't like to make any, want to take any regrets. Whether that is a fail or false or good, or that's only the result. The only regret I have is that not making the process to be decide whether that is A or B. But just following is nothing you are thinking. So whatever that is, finally that is a wrong decision. I don't have any regrets to that point. Of course, regrets because there is no result or there is no revenue coming. That's my fault. But besides, I'm not unsatisfied that kind of procedure.
And what about
nobody's perfect.
Well, just on that point too, how do you build trust with your teams? You talked before about when you're in Germany, you were bringing value to them and they started to trust you that, oh, Mr. Hiraga is bringing in new business. This is great. We're getting paid more. It's all good, right? And you could build up that trust. Plus, you were very open to hear their opinion and share your opinion and have that conversation, have that communication. So what things have you found works well building trust in teams?
Trust, it's not easy, but still, I'm the year mid-60s, but still, I do in the front of the business to show how I do. I show them. Because I don't say like I sit in the chair and then doing that. Okay, bring you the new business. Okay, I'm waiting for that. That type of managers are plenty. But to say is easy. But to show them is not easy because it's hard work I have to do. I have to prepare something. I have to make some proposal. I do have to communicate with the client. But that's the younger staff are doing. Yes, but I like to show them this is the way we should do, or we not should, we can do. But the style is different. But from that you learn from my kind of approaching way whether that is good for you or matching to your kind of attitude or character. That's good. But finally you have to decide yourself. Anyway, I have to show my kind of behavior or some style. And then to learn that is easy. Or to say is easy, but nothing. No trust is occurred. Then once I show them, and then this is the way, and then once the result is coming, the person is easy to make trust, having trust to me. That's every time. So still I'm doing that.
Even at this level as a chairman?
Yeah,
level,
the consulting, I do have my own kind of methods to do that. I tell them, I tell my colleagues this is the way I'm doing. And once I get some credit from the client on that, and my colleague they're sure that, oh, Hiraga is doing right, so I have to follow. Or I can learn from him. That's trust.
Based on your actual track record too.
Yeah. Unless I'm not showing anything, there's no trust. We're just making an order or just manage or just making some...
Hidari Uchiwa.
Yeah. Then I don't believe that is a trust.
Yeah.
And then looks like trust. Yeah. Whatever you're saying, boss, I'm following you. It's not trust.
No.
So it's that kind of, it's very much superficial.
I think Japan's pretty good at that too, the tatemae and hone, the superficial reality, the actual reality. It keeps the harmony in the culture. So
it's kind of head and tail.
Yeah.
They're both ways.
Yeah.
But it's easy to, it's very much kind of our Japanese custom.
Yeah.
Because you have to read my real thoughts between the sentences.
Yeah.
How do you read the sentences?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially younger generations are not thinking that way, more kind of simple.
Really?
Simple talk is better. I don't say it's more westernized. Westernized doesn't say, I believe, they read the between the sentences too. American, European, they do. Sometimes they do more than Japanese, I believe, from my experience. So, I'm saying that the Japanese, many nationalities are, but the basic is, I don't think there's a big difference.
What about culture? Building culture?
Well, culture is of course different because we raised in Japan, and based on the Japanese customs. Well, customs and behavior is custom is like eating habits, and some other habits are, I believe it's one thing, and it's not kind of getting more universal. Eating habits is, Japanese are having the eating habits more and westernized. That's something, but the thought itself, our mentality. Mentality between Japanese and others. To say something, it's tough to say. This is Japanese. This is Americans.
Well, Well, in that regard, like, for example, what I'm talking about is corporate culture. Like you're a Japanese executive, but you spent a long period, 10 years overseas in Europe and America. You have the Marsh culture, global culture,
Yes, we have.
and then you have Marsh in Japan. So you've got the Japanese culture, you've got the global Marsh culture, then there's your experiences in there too. So what have you found works well to build a culture in the company in Japan?
Corporate culture base, yes, there's a Marsh culture. That's global. That's universal. So we shared our thoughts because that's easier. Marsh culture in Japan is different than other Marsh in other countries. What? Well, regulation is one thing, of course. There's some social issues are also different. So, of course, we are based in Japan, so we have to follow the Japanese regulations and rules and whatever. So that's kind of getting a little different from other countries. That's one thing. Another one is each person's attitude is different. We as Japanese are kind of not kind of more aggressive than other Western people. Kind of self-appearance. I'm doing that. I did that. So please evaluate me. I am the person. Japanese way is more like not I, we.
We, yeah.
As a team. But I don't say, well, that's another contradiction. When I was in Europe, in States, and doing business for Japanese, our teammates are kind of that. Not only appealing oneself. We could get this account because of the teammates' kind of harmony or how do I say?
Maybe cooperation.
Yeah, cooperation. Yes.
Yeah, commitment. Yeah.
That is more, but I'm believing still the Japanese way of thinking is well. Some of the people, a person, are saying that I was and I am the person who got this account and whatever. But still, the rare cases. More of that is more on a team.
More teamwork. And if you're going to give some advice to someone who's going to be sent to Japan from outside of Japan, as a foreigner being sent to Japan, they don't speak Japanese, they don't know about Japan, but they're told you go to Japan, run the organization.
Okay.
What sort of advice would you give them to be successful?
Oh, as a top manager?
They're the CEO, they're the president.
Or the president. Who should, well, two things. One is, if that person is CEO, that means he's a top. He should find out what that person, find out kind of I don't know how to say in English, but you're like a right arm or you're kind of a seconded person to be saying directly to that CEO. Find out, or even that person is Japanese or non-Japanese, it doesn't matter. But that person is kind of having some credit from all the colleagues or all the staff in Japan, and to find out who should be that person is. That's one thing. Another one is, again, that's a communication. But for CEO, especially if that person is non-Japanese, communication is tough moment for them to start up with, because we don't open our mind or thoughts, especially if that is a CEO, whether I should say this or that. Everybody is kind of having some concern or some afraid of. If you have this eye contact, then that person, people are thinking, well, whatever you say, CEO, we do follow. But there is no communication. So it means some of the good foreign CEOs successful in Japan is, I believe, is having a good communication skills, internally and externally, like you, Greg.
Thank you.
More open-minded, and not doing like you're the executive managing director, so you are covering up this, and you are this, and you are this, and report it to me. Never work. So communication is key again, and but anyway, find out the person, and then try to communicate with many as possible the person, and then I think that's one of the best way. I don't say it's the only way. From my experience, it's again the communication.
So we've talked about a lot of things in leadership. Is there any area of leadership we haven't covered so far in our talk today? Is how to lead in Japan?
Well, many of the cases recently, nowadays, I was a member of Keizai Doyukai, and having some chat with many of the senior executives. But our thought is most of the time is more on a diversity.
Okay.
I'm talking every time his and her, or sometimes one's, and we as Marsh in Japan are very much behind that diversity.
Oh, compared to overseas.
The thing is, we have there is no director, the female. We have a so-called managing director, the more professional kind of skill and status. Managing director, we have 30, around 30, 20 to 30, 20, around 20 managing directors in Japan. Female, only 2. Well, that's 10%. No, 5%. Compared to like a 40% or more in the States or Europe. Why we are so much behind the scene is because we are not good at promoting females to be on the same, not level, but the equality to get a kind of getting the performance appraisal. That's what, as a leader, and then as a leader, I have to, not I, but we have to make up more mindset to bring more females, because I say communication is a key. But sometimes if the communication is man versus man, men versus men, there's only men's thoughts. There's no females' thoughts. So a kind of mixture is good things, but that's kind of my challenge, or our corporate challenge, to be bringing more female, not only female, but kind of the minorities into the how to say, decision-making process, zone. Otherwise, diversity means there are many different thoughts. So to make a very good leadership, or to make a very good decision-making, more, how to say, variety of people are giving that, rather than only 1 or 2. So that is what I believe we need for this company, for the leadership, process or thoughts.
Oh, that's interesting. And what's your definition of leadership? How would you define leadership?
Well, a couple of, but 2 major. Good leadership is showing the good example. Good leadership is having the skill of the good communication. Communication is not only one thing. Telling and listening to. I learned that from Dale Carnegie too. That no, communication is one thing, but listening skill is something that I learned from the Dale Carnegie. Firstly, listening to, but in a very positive way. Then that brings the people to be, oh, you're listening to me.
Yeah.
So that is important. So two, probably a couple more, but just now I only thought that leadership, example, some show a good presence to them. This is the way but don't, don't push them or stress them, force them. This is the way you should do. After I show them the example, but please, and you should think by yourself, what is the good kind of way or the style for you to bring with and to bring to the client. That's your thoughts. And that's, again, that time you have to feel the responsibility.
Yeah.
Leadership is, again, probably that is a third one, and that's needless to say. Leadership having the responsibility, not only for the business strategy itself, but responsible for the people you are managing for. But managing is not only stress them, but to bring her or bring him to more cheerful world or area to encourage them to work harder. Hard means not, I'm saying 24 hours.
No.
Harder and more cheerful way. Like working this, I'm working like more like 10 hours. I don't like this work. Don't continue for many years.
Yeah.
I should come again. I like to come back to the office again to continue my work because this is so exciting. That kind of attitude I should bring. And that's kind of the leader to bring to those people. To get, not encourage them, but to give some moment or the opportunity to encourage the person to work. That's important for the leaders, I believe.
Well, very nice. Well, thank you. It's been fascinating.
Well, I don't know
and
whether
your English was perfect the whole way through. Not even a problem there at all.
I don't know, but I don't know whether I really give you the right answer. But of course, I believe that there's no right or wrong answers. But I don't also not having the full confidence that did I speak everything to you, Greg, today? Well, let me find out.
Yeah, I think you did. That was very good. So please join us again for our next episode of Japan's top business interviews.